Every culture has stories of portals to other worlds, but they're just that, stories. Or are they? Near Ellensburg, Washington, a landowner named Mel Waters stumbled upon something that turned myth into terrifying reality.
There are a couple aspects of Mel's hole, paranormal aspects that make it intriguing.
A simple hole on his property became the center of a national mystery. It was a place where dogs whimpered in fear, radios malfunctioned, and strange objects were pulled from its depths.
This landscape has no natural means to make a very deep hole.
When a camera was finally sent down, the footage didn't just confirm the high strangeness. It recorded a presence, something impossible, waiting in the dark. The story is much bigger than just a bottomless pit. The Devil's Throat. It all began in 1997, not with a bang, but with a phone call. A man named Mel Waters called into a popular late-night radio show, Coast to Coast AM, with a story that sounded like something straight out of a science fiction novel. He owned a piece of land in a rural area near Manastash Ridge, Washington, and on that land was a hole. But this wasn't just any hole. It was, for all intents and purposes, bottomless. Mel, a down-to-earth kind of guy, had tested it himself. He told the host, Art Bell, that he had spooled out over 80,000 feet, that's more than 15 miles, of fishing line with a 1-pound weight on the end, and it never once hit the bottom. Just imagine that for a second. 15 miles of line, dangling into nothing. It just kept going, swallowed by a silent, patient darkness. The properties of this abyss were just plain weird. For starters, it was completely silent. You could drop a rock, a television, or even an old refrigerator into it, and you'd never hear a thing. No thud, no echo, just gone. The local animals seemed to know something was wrong with the place. Mel said his dogs and his neighbors' dogs would refuse to go anywhere near it, tucking their tails and whining if forced to approach. It was as if they could sense an unseen wrongness radiating from the pit. Birds would divert their flight paths to avoid flying directly over the opening. The strangeness extended beyond just animal behavior. The hole was about 9 feet wide and was lined with stone for the first 15 feet or so, almost like a well, before opening into the unknown. Local legends from Native American tribes spoke of the hole for generations, calling it a gateway to another place, a cursed ground that led to a world not meant for people. They used the hole as a place to discard animal carcasses, claiming the pit would bring them back. In one bizarre experiment, a man lowered a live sheep into the hole, and when he pulled it back up, the animal was gone, and the hook had a strange, fleshy tumor attached to it. When examined, this growth appeared to be a seal's flipper with a human-like hand inside it, a biological impossibility that defied all explanation. The story escalated from a quirky local mystery to something far more sinister after Mel's radio appearances. One day, he found his property blocked by federal agents. They claimed a plane had crashed on his land, though Mel had seen or heard no such thing. These weren't your typical government workers. They wore plain black suits and drove unmarked cars. They informed him that his land was now off-limits for his own safety. Soon after, he was approached with an offer he couldn't refuse, a hefty sum of money, paid monthly, for him to lease his land to the government and leave the country. Permanently. The message was clear. Forget the hole, forget what you saw, and never speak of it again. The alternative was trouble. Faced with little choice, Mel took the deal and moved to Australia, disappearing from the public eye for years. The hole, once a bizarre geological curiosity, was now a classified secret, guarded by forces who wanted its existence erased from memory. But what could possibly be so important about a hole in the ground? Erased memories. Years went by. The story of Mel's hole faded into the background, becoming a piece of internet folklore, a creepy tale told on forums and in chat rooms. Then, in 2002, the silence was broken. Mel Waters called Coast to Coast AM again. But this was a different Mel. His voice was subdued, hesitant. He sounded like a man who had seen too much. He claimed to have gaps in his memory, strange scars on his body he couldn't explain, and a chilling feeling that his life had been cleaned up, or altered. He had been back in the United States for a while, but something was wrong. His money had been mysteriously drained from his accounts, and he was left with nothing. He spoke of being taken to a secret base in Nevada, where he saw another hole, this one even larger and more heavily guarded than the one on his property. This second hole was part of a massive underground research facility, bustling with activity, suggesting that the government wasn't just guarding these anomalies, they were actively studying them. This is where the story takes a turn, moving from a single mystery to a global conspiracy. Mel hinted at a third hole, even more secret than the others, before he vanished again, this time for good. But his story had already planted a seed. A new generation of investigators, armed with the power of the internet, took up the cause. They started digging, and what they found was shocking. A user named DepthWalker33 posted a set of GPS coordinates online, pinpointing a location on Manistash Ridge that matched Mel's descriptions perfectly. When people checked satellite imagery of these coordinates on Google Earth, they found a perfectly round, treeless patch of land, exactly where the hole should be. The discovery was a bombshell, but just as quickly as it appeared, it was gone. Within days, the satellite image was altered. The clear, circular anomaly was replaced by a blurry, nondescript patch of trees, the kind of digital censorship typically reserved for top-secret military bases and sensitive government installations. This act of digital concealment was all the proof many needed. The government wasn't just ignoring Mel's hole, they were actively trying to hide it from the world. Theories exploded across the internet. What was this thing? Some suggested it was a natural phenomenon, perhaps a vertical lava tube of unprecedented depth, reaching all the way to the Earth's mantle. Others believed it was artificial, built by an ancient, long-lost civilization, or perhaps not built by humans at all. The high strangeness of the phenomena reported by Mel led to even wilder speculation. Could it be a testing ground for advanced gravity weapons? A dimensional rift? A tear in the fabric of space-time where the laws of physics break down? This dimensional split theory gained traction, as it could explain why objects falling into the hole never made a sound. They weren't hitting a bottom, but rather breaking through into another reality, another world entirely. The idea is mind-bending. A place where falling down doesn't mean going deeper, but going sideways through space. The government's intense interest suddenly made a terrifying kind of sense. If you had a gateway to another dimension on your hands, you'd want to keep it under wraps, wouldn't you? The cover-up only made people more determined to find the truth no matter the cost. Project Abyss. The digital breadcrumbs left by Mel and the subsequent cover-up were too tempting to ignore. Small, determined groups of explorers, engineers, amateur scientists, and even former soldiers began mounting expeditions to the coordinates on Manistash Ridge. They were met with fences, no trespassing signs, and rumors of unmarked vehicles patrolling the area. But one team was more prepared than the rest. They came equipped with a custom-built, heavy-duty drone, fitted with a 4K camera, powerful lights, and a suite of environmental sensors to measure temperature, magnetism, and atmospheric pressure. Their plan was simple: lower the drone into the hole and record what was down there, once and for all. What they captured would shake the internet to its core. The descent began. As the drone was lowered into the abyss, the data it sent back was immediately baffling. The temperature inside the hole plummeted at an unnatural rate. Within just a few hundred feet, the sensors were reading temperatures equivalent to those found in polar ice shelves, a reading that makes absolutely no geological sense. The deeper you go into the Earth's crust, the hotter it's supposed to get, not colder. It was as if the hole was actively leaching heat from its surroundings, a physical impossibility. Then, the camera started picking up strange flashes of light. Not random flickers, but rhythmic pulses, described by the team as a slow, steady, beating, or breathing light, emanating from the darkness below. The drone's compass began to spin erratically, and its magnetic sensors detected a bizarre wave, as if space itself was being warped or stretched. The team reported that the drone seemed to be drifting, as if space was getting longer inside the hole. At around the 500-foot mark, the audio sensors picked up a new anomaly, a low, persistent hum. As the drone went deeper, this hum intensified, breaking into low-frequency bursts. When the audio was analyzed later, some claimed they could hear whispers embedded within the strange frequencies. Spectrograms of the sound showed complex wave patterns that didn't match any known language, animal, or geological phenomenon. It sounded synthetic, yet ancient. Then, the most shocking discovery of all appeared on the screen. At 580 feet down, a shape materialized between the camera and the wall of the hole. It was tall, thin, and unmoving, described by the horrified crew as a person made of liquid shadow. It was a perfect silhouette, absorbing all light, a void within a void. For a few heart-stopping seconds, it just stood there, observing the drone. Then, the camera feed went completely black. The signal was lost. A sideways universe. The team managed to retrieve the drone, but the footage of the liquid shadow figure was the last thing it ever recorded. The video was initially posted to a private server, but it didn't stay private for long. It leaked and went viral. But as quickly as it spread, it was suppressed. Users who shared the video reported their accounts being banned, their files becoming corrupted. Takedown notices from unknown agencies were issued. Entire channels dedicated to analyzing the footage disappeared overnight. The digital iron fist that had blurred the satellite maps years earlier came down again, this time with even greater force. The message was the same, but louder. You are not supposed to see this. Whatever was in that hole, it didn't want to be found. So what do we make of all this? The story of Mel's Hole sits at a strange crossroads between folklore, conspiracy, and chilling eyewitness accounts. For the hardened skeptic, the entire saga is a work of fiction, a brilliant piece of storytelling for a late-night radio show that spiraled out of control. Scientists are quick to point out that a hole of such depth is impossible. The immense pressure and temperature of the Earth's crust would cause any such opening to collapse in on itself. There are no known geological formations that could explain a 15-mile-deep open-air shaft. From a purely scientific standpoint, Mel's Hole cannot exist. And yet, the story persists, bolstered by strange corroborating evidence like the blurred satellite images and the aggressive suppression of information. If we entertain the idea that this is real, the theories become truly mind-bending. The dimensional split idea evolved into something even more complex. A reverse dimension fold, a place where the laws of physics are inverted. This could explain the impossible temperature drops and the warping of space. Another theory suggests the drone wasn't going down at all, but sideways into a different layer of reality that happens to occupy the same physical space. Think of it like tuning a radio to a different frequency. The drone slipped from our reality into another. It's a wild thought, but in a story with talking seals and shadow people, what's off the table? The thing is, when you're dealing with something so far outside our understanding, our explanations are bound to sound like science fiction. Is Mel's Hole a geological impossibility, a government conspiracy, or a gateway to another world? What do you think was captured on that camera? Let us know below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.